Welkom bij Toekomstmuziek, de podcast van muziekcentrum De Bijloke, waarin ik met jonge muzikanten babbel over hun muziek en hun carrière. Ik had het afgelopen jaar heel interessante gesprekken met muzikanten uit binnen- en buitenland, over hoe muziek in hun leven kwam, over hoe het in hun leven bleef en over hoe ze vandaag die liefde voor de muziek nog altijd met de wereld delen. Je kan alle afleveringen herbeluisteren op je favoriete podcast-app. Voor we aan deze aflevering beginnen, misschien een korte dienstmededeling. Het nieuwe seizoen staat online. Check gerust www.bijloke.be voor de volledige agenda en laat mij weten met wie ik volgend jaar een babbeltje zou moeten doen. Maar eerst terug naar het nu. In deze 11e en laatste aflevering van het eerste seizoen hebben we een jarige te gast. Pianiste Isata Kanneh-Mason. Amper 30 is ze, Isata Kanneh-Mason, de oudste van de Kanneh-Mason-clan. Die was op 1 mei te gast in de Bijloke voor een pianorecital met muziek van Beethoven, Ravel en Dobrinka-Tabakova. Het was een prachtige, zonnige lentedag, dus ik sleurde haar even uit haar repetitieruimte voor een gesprek over haar muzikale jeugd, de liefde voor de piano en hoe Beethoven en Beyoncé even geniaal zijn. En speciaal voor haar verjaardag hadden we een verrassing voorzien. Veel luisterplezier. Hi, Isata.
Hello.
So, thank you very much for having this conversation with me. Before we start with the podcast, we're recording this on April 30th, which is my brother's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to your brother.
But we're releasing the podcast on May 27th, which is my birthday.
That's my birthday.
Oh, that's your birthday as well? Okay, then I have a present for you.
I've literally never met someone who shared a birthday with
really?
me. I'm really excited. Oh my gosh.
And since Ghent and Belgium is a chocolate country, and we have a lot of spectacular chocolatiers in Belgium, this is a present from us.
Wait, this is amazing. But you didn't even know it was my birthday.
I know it was your birthday. Yeah. It was a setup.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I'm so excited. I am so excited. Wow, this is incredible. This is truly incredible.
So it's a grand piano in pure chocolate.
Wow.
I checked with Janie and said that what was your favorite.
Yes. Oh, she knows me. Oh, I feel so happy. It's also my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
So it's a big one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay,
maybe we should put this somewhere in the shadow before it melts away.
Yes. Oh, no, we can't
I'm going to
have
put
that.
it back in the fridge.
Okay,
maybe.
perfect. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, we have to keep the shape. Yeah. So your birthday isn't actually on May the 27th?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
I would have felt betrayed if you
No.
set that up.
That would be too much of a setup.
That would be too much.
Yeah. It's your 30th birthday. Mm-hmm. I always ask my guests, it's a difficult turnaround to the actual podcast.
Take your time.
I always ask my guests, when did music come into their life? But I think it was pretty obvious with you. You have very musical parents. They were not professional musicians, but they played a lot of music and were good at their instrument. And they were both pianists, right?
Yes, they both were pianists. They also played clarinet, and my mum later learnt the violin. My dad played the cello. But I think it was also that they played music on the CD players, in the kitchen, in the car. It was just always in the house all the time. And I mean, my earliest memories date back to when I was 3 or something, dancing in the kitchen, listening to music, or even I played the recorder for a bit when I was 3 as well. So.
And was it classical music or was it all types of music?
It was all types of music. It was lots of classical, lots of whatever they were listening to, whether that was Shaggy and Snoop Dogg or Lauryn Hill or Bob Marley or Beethoven, Sibelius, anything.
Did you also go to concerts a lot at that age?
We went to some, not a lot, because my parents didn't have loads of money, but they really made the effort to, for example, I remember going to see La Traviata when I was really young, maybe 6 or something. And that was such a special experience seeing that opera. And they took us to see Yo-Yo Ma play, and they took us to see Stephen Isserlis play. So when things would come to Nottingham, they would make the effort, and those experiences stuck with me.
You started out with the recorder at age 3, but also the violin and the viola, if I'm correct?
Well, recorder at age 3 and then piano at age 6. And then violin came in when I was 7 or 8.
Okay, it came later. Okay,
yes,
okay.
So piano was the first main one, really. Recorder was just part of something I was doing.
Yeah. It was just lying around there.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay. So when did you realize, so you started with the piano, you also played the violin, but when did you realize that the piano was more of your instrument?
I think I always felt like it was more of my instrument, but I enjoyed playing the violin so that I could be involved in orchestras and chamber groups and that side of things. But I always felt most natural with the piano and most connected.
Doesn't the piano have a place in chamber repertoire? Maybe less than the violin does.
No, it has a huge place in chamber repertoire. I suppose I mean mainly orchestral courses and having the opportunity to play string quartets specifically. Yeah. But of course, piano trios and quartets, there's a huge chamber repertoire as well. Yeah.
Do you still love the piano as much as you did when you started at age 6?
Yes, actually I do. And I've definitely had phases throughout my teens and early 20s. Not that I've ever loved the piano less, but that performing or the role of the piano in my life has become a source of stress and anxiety, which perhaps everyone goes through. But I feel like I'm out the other side of that now. I mean, maybe these things go up and down, I don't know. But I feel like I've always loved music the same amount, and I feel very connected with the piano at the moment.
I think that's very obvious because as a child, it doesn't really matter. But at a certain age, you tend to make it your profession. You tend to, you study it, you go to conservatory, and suddenly your future depends on how well you play the piano or how much you love to play the piano.
Yeah, so I don't even think it's the piano necessarily. I think it's the things, as you say, that can surround it as you go through institutions, as you experience pressure, your first public failures. Suddenly there's a lot that can circulate around the instrument. And sometimes I suppose it can get in the way of your relationship to the instrument. So that's something you have to discover and rediscover throughout your life.
How old were you when you started having that kind of relationship with the piano?
I mean, I suppose there have always been pressures, you know, even if it's grade exams or an audition. I suppose probably at parts in my teens, late teens, early 20s. I think it's also a difficult age because you're coming into adulthood, and I started doing more and more public concerts around that time. So probably the combinations of those two things just meant that there was a lot to navigate.
And when you mentioned late teens, that's because you released your first album when you were 19? Is that correct?
No, actually it was
21.
It was in 2019. But I was 22.
22. Still a very young age.
Yeah. And I always feel like I grew up quite slowly. I mean, I feel like 22, myself at 22 was very young.
Of course, you grew up in a very musical family, you and your siblings. You're the oldest one, that's correct?
Right? Yes, that's correct.
Does that mean that there always is or was music in the house, playing live?
Yes, there always, for as long as I can remember, has been music in the house. People are always practicing, performing, listening to music. Of course, there are moments of silence and days off and all of that, but it was just natural to have music in the house.
Were you, as the oldest, the kind of beacon for the younger siblings?
I think there were some things that happened early on. For example, I started first and then my brothers started, and I went to the primary Academy of Music in London first. And then when my brothers saw that I was going, they also wanted to go.
Yeah.
So small things like that.
Your brothers, Sheku and Brahma.
My brothers, Sheku and Brahma, yes. Yeah. But I think those things are more of a thing in early childhood when these things are new. I mean, we hadn't heard of the Royal Academy and suddenly it was a thing in our lives and they were like, we want to go too.
And everybody wants to go.
Yeah. But as you get older, that gets less and less.
Yeah. We're in Ghent today. The sun is getting in my eyes. It's wonderful. I never had a summer feeling like this. You've been in Ghent since this afternoon. It's beautiful, sunny day. I think it was 22 degrees. But you were inside practicing the piano.
I am inside. I did have to walk here.
Yeah.
And so I've had some patches of sun and I do try to get outside as much as possible. But yes, I am inside practicing the piano for my concert tomorrow.
Yeah. How much do you practice on a daily basis?
Well, it depends on the day. I mean, today probably 2 hours because I've been traveling most of the day, but I try to do about 5 or 6 on an average day.
But even on a travel day, still 2 hours of practice.
Yes.
And I heard in another podcast that you like to rehearse or like to practice in the morning because when your mind is still fresh.
Yeah, so today is actually not an ideal day for me because I had to travel in the morning and now my mind is not fresh. But yeah, I think in the morning before too many distractions flood in and I just feel like my brain has more to give. But I have spikes later in the day as well.
It requires a lot of dedication for the instrument. to, on even a sunny day, to force yourself to stay inside and play it. I reckon that the love for the instrument still has an important role.
Yeah, definitely. I still love the piano. I still love music. And I think I also just feel like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And actually, I wish there were more hours in the day, because I would also love to be outside for 6 hours and practice for 6 hours. I wish I could do both.
And sleep for 6 hours. And
sleep for 10.
Yeah, 10 hours. 10 hours. And I saw on your Instagram that you're still very playful with the instrument. I saw the Where's My Husband funeral version, which is amazing, in the Ray song. A video with your housemates of a Mr. Sandman rendition. How important is it to keep that vibe also in your playing?
For me, it's so important. I mean, it's one of the ways that I actually came to the piano. I used to hear pop songs on the radio and come home and try and play them and jam with my siblings. And I think keeping those things going keeps my relationship to music and keeps what I enjoy about the instrument. You're really struggling.
I'm really struggling with this.
I'm looking at you and I'm like,
I'm gonna move.
Yeah, maybe
10 centimeters. So now the sun isn't in my eyes anymore. So okay, let's do it like this.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask is, so recently you had the Prokofiev release, which I love, very, very lovely CD. You also released music by Clara Schumann, by both Fanny and Felix Mendelssohn, Samuel Coleridge Taylor, Amy Beach. Here in Ghent you're playing Beethoven, Ravel, Tabakova. What unites all these musicians, all these composers, because they're wildly different?
I mean, this particular program, I was actually exploring the theme of From Darkness into Light in terms of the music. So the Moonlight Sonata, the Gaspard de la Nuit, and the Dubinka Tabakova Nocturne are all night pieces. And then the Tabakova Halo and the Waldstein are kind of light day pieces, the Waldstein in particular having references to dawn. So I wanted to have this journey. And so that for me was what linked the pieces. And from that lens, they actually fit really well together, even though the composers are very different.
Yeah, but still, it's a lot of music. And you also mentioned earlier that in another conversation that you love Rachmaninoff, for example. How do you choose repertoire? Like, you have for this program a very specific goal, a specific... Is there a wish list lying around somewhere?
Yeah, I listen to lots of music. I go to concerts. I have composers on my radar that I love. I stumble across new composers. And out of all of that I consume, there will be pieces that strike a certain chord, no pun intended. And then I feel like, I really want to play that piece because I feel connected to it. And it's not always something I can explain, but I just envision it. And then I log it and then try to learn it when I can.
Do you still often go to concerts?
I do. I go as often as I can, which is not as often as I'd like. And whatever's on, I try to. Yeah.
But that's given your profession, which is mostly going on when there are concerts, a lot of travel dates. It's not that weird that you... do you find it difficult on rest days to still search for music? Or do you seek out quietness?
It depends. I do sometimes spend time at home, but I like to be with people more on rest days because traveling, you're often alone, actually. And on my days off on travel days, I'm alone in a hotel room. So when I'm in London, I'd much prefer to go to a concert or often a play, a musical, the cinema with my friends in a group. We'll go to these kinds of things. So I'm more likely to do that than stay at home.
A lot of your siblings also live in London, right?
Yes, they do.
So do you often see each other still?
Yeah, we do. We actually move in similar social circles.
Okay.
So our social evenings, we often end up together with other people as well.
Yeah. Do you, because I saw that Sheku and your mother attended your concert in Prague?
Yes,
right?
And my dad as well.
And your dad as well?
Yes.
Okay. So do you often go to each other's concerts as well?
Yeah, we do whenever we can. And it was actually lovely that they could fly out to Prague. That's not always the case. It's normally the concerts in the UK, particularly London and Nottingham when we can go. But sometimes we'll make the extra effort to go somewhere abroad.
Yeah. Is there a vibrant music scene in Nottingham?
Yeah, actually there is. The concert hall has a lot going on. And I actually saw a concert there recently of Alim Bamzabayev playing Prokofiev too. And there's just things that are happening. And when I'm in Nottingham and something catches my eye, I'll go.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Gathering the thoughts.
And gathering the thoughts.
Yes.
I'm also trying to block the sun from my eye. We mentioned earlier, you released your first Decca record when you were 22. You started coming into the public eye when you were 19-ish. I think the Elton John concert was in 2013. No,
yeah,
20,
so that was when I was 17. Yes.
So even earlier. Did you ever feel that the stakes were high?
Yes, but I think that I felt that the stakes were high always, actually. I think the stakes felt high for my grade 7 piano exam. They felt high for my audition for Primary Royal Academy. They felt high for my piano lesson, knowing my teacher would be there. So I think that's something that is quite good to kind of grow up with in a healthy way as a child of music learning, that, you know, you get used to that pressure.
Yeah, and you can use that pressure to grow, to elevate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's so good as a child to learn to work with adrenaline and scary situations, because then you, as you say, you grow and you become more equipped to deal with it.
How do you, we're still only 30. How do you have...
Not yet.
Not yet. How do you keep things interesting for you in your career?
I think because things are always challenging, they're therefore always interesting. I think learning music is always a challenge, because even the same piece is different day to day, and there's always new things to learn and new places you're going and new ideas that come into my mind that I then have to think about how to execute. So because that's all challenging and always changing, that means it's naturally interesting.
Do you prefer to revisit repertoire you've already played, or to play new repertoire?
I like both, because revisiting things I've already played, I've probably changed, so I have something new to bring to it. And then also there's a feeling of, I can get deeper into this piece, I can do so much more with it than I could the first time. But then, of course, new repertoire is also interesting and amazing, but it always takes longer than you think to really digest a new piece of music. So sometimes it's quite unsatisfying at first when you're learning the notes and you know what you want to do with it, but it's just not there yet.
How do you keep yourself motivated in a moment like that? Is that difficult, or do you know I can do it if I try?
It can be difficult. I think I use past knowledge to keep myself motivated. I think, well, look at where this piece used to be and now it's like this, so we can do it again.
Yeah, we can do it again.
Yeah.
Are there still many goals to achieve, like in repertoire?
Yeah, there's loads. There's lots of concerti and sonatas and pieces that I want to learn. There's just loads of ideas that I want to try. So yeah, there's more than I probably can do in one life. I think it's always the case. Yeah.
Is there a note on your notes app? Is there?
There's so many notes on my notes app. My notes app actually stresses me, because as soon as I think of something, I write it on my notes app. And there's all these half-finished notes, and then sometimes I think I need to go through my notes and properly explore, and there's like 100.
But when do you have the time for that?
On a plane.
On a plane, yeah.
That's when I go through my notes app, yeah.
We've discussed it a few minutes ago about the Ray version and the Mr. Sandman with your housemates. I heard in another podcast that you like hip-hop dancing. So yes. I think the classical music and it just everything blends together well. And I feel that it's something for our generation. Let me just consider it our generation. I'm a bit older, but it doesn't really matter what kind of music it is, as long as it is music that is good, that we can love.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel so strongly about that. And I think that's why I put these things online and express the other things that I enjoy in my life and bring them together and link them together, because to me it's the most natural thing in the world, because it's how I grew up. And so that's why I express it now.
Do you think that's something very typical for our generation?
I don't know, actually. I think that people can be quite obsessed in this day and age with defining genre, and this fits into this box and this fits into this box. And it's not how I grew up. And I don't know if I can say broadly that it's our generation or what it is, but I just think that we shouldn't be so strict on what fits where in every single moment, because nothing really fully fits anywhere.
No. I do have one final question. If you had to choose, Beethoven or Beyoncé?
I would choose Beethoven.
Okay.
I would. I would still choose Beethoven. Yeah. But that was really, really difficult. I didn't like that question at all.
I've heard someone ask the question, Beethoven or Rachmaninoff, and I thought, and then you chose Beethoven.
Yeah.
So I thought, what's more difficult than Beethoven versus Rachmaninoff?
No, I just think Beethoven is such a staple and has brought me so much that I couldn't erase him from.
Yeah.
And he was there before Beyoncé in my musical journey.
Yeah, okay. And you can still dance to Beethoven.
Yeah, and I do.
Okay. Isata, thank you very much for the conversation.
Thank you very much.
And enjoy the concert here.
Thank you. Bye.
Dit was de 11e aflevering van Toekomstmuziek. We gaan er nu even tussenuit, maar geen nood, want na de zomer krijg je nieuwe afleveringen. In de tussentijd scroll gerust eens door de bestaande afleveringen of check onze andere podcast vlak voor de gong. Bedankt aan mijn gasten van het voorbije seizoen en ook bedankt aan jou natuurlijk om te luisteren. Tot snel op Côté Jardin, op Bijloke Wonderland of tijdens het nieuwseizoen van Muziekcentrum de Bijloke. Toekomstmuziek is een podcast van Muziekcentrum de Bijloke. De muziek die aan het begin van de afleveringen hoorde was het scherzo uit Mendelssohn's Ein Sommernachtstraum in een arrangement van Rachmaninoff, opgenomen door Isata Kanneh-Mason voor het album Mendelssohn uit 2024. De muziek die je daarnet hoorde was haar eigen funeral version van het Ray-nummer Where Is My Husband live op BBC 3. Alle andere deuntjes die komen zoals altijd uit de koker van Tom Soethaert.